Hello, it's working. Yay! Excellent. Hello, how are you? I hope you're well. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Lindsay and very excited to be here. We're going to be talking today, and in fact, all week, I'm going to be live at the same time to talk about some different topics, and some of them about like language life and maybe some questions that you have, but also answering some general stuff as well that's like really kind of popular stuff that comes up a lot. And today, the thing that we're going to be talking about is how to balance multiple languages. And I have my notes, and I was going to like split my screen so I could see my notes and I could see the YouTube thing. But the YouTube, when it's like half screen, is really weird and only shows me the chat. So we can try, but I might just go across to my notes and pop back as and when. So I will be able to see the chat. I will check in, and if I don't answer straight away, that's why. But yeah, I will check in and we will answer stuff as we go. So yes, hello, welcome to the series. We'll be here all week, as I said, 3 p.m. every day. If you want to learn more right now, the way that we can work together is within Language Life, which is my program that helps you learn languages better your way. This is not a prescriptive one size fits all method or system. Instead, this is all about centering you in your language learning to make sure that we're building routines and picking the right activities that suit you. So you'll be able to stick to this long term. And if you want to learn more, you want to get started today, lindsaydoeslanguages.com/LL. Right now, there is a bonus. I'll share more about that at the end and how this all links to today's topic as well. So first of all, then, how to balance multiple languages. So the first thing that I want to share with you here is the categories really that I have in my mind when I'm thinking about learning different languages. And essentially what that looks like is it's about having these different categories so that when I'm thinking, I haven't done enough of language X, I know that actually, oh, you know what? That's okay because I'm not supposed to, because it's not in that category. Do you know what I mean? So it just helps to sort of calm your nerves a little bit, because the idea of balancing multiple languages isn't necessarily about everything being, there's two languages, so it's 50% and 50% exactly, like no room for error, not like 49.9. No. It's not about that. It's about recognizing like, okay, balance right now looks like this much time in this language and that much time in that language. It's not an even balance. It's a balance that is working for you. And so really these categories just help to kind of ease your mind a bit about that. So the way that I like to think of this is thinking first of all of focus and play, and then there's two subcategories within each of those. So within focus, we have new language that we're focused on. So that's when you're learning a brand new language, it's your focus because you really want to improve it. Perhaps if you've heard me talk about speedy gains, maybe you're in a phase of speedy gains with this language. So that's where that comes in. Then we have focus steady. So a steady language is one that you are focused on improving, right? And you'll see what I mean by that. You'll see the difference in a minute. You're focused on improving this language, but it's steady, it's consistent. It's not like, it's not new. It's not something that you need to be rushed or you have any kind of deadline. This is this steady improvement that you're going for. Then with play, we have two subcategories there. The first is maintain. So the difference here between steady is that we're not really thinking about learning something new in this language. If you've in a maintain category, this is something that like you've got to a reasonable level, you're happy with, but you just don't want to let it slide too much. So you just want to be doing things that are playful, that aren't like massively, learning new stuff, adding more. It's just about maintaining what you already have. And then under play, we have pure play. So this is where maybe there's a language that you're just really, really curious about. You just want to explore. And, it's like, if you don't have this category, but you still feel that pull of like wanting to learn something, wanting to explore something new, it's like really hard to kind of allow yourself to do that, because it feels like you have to be focused on the focus languages or on the languages that you want to maintain. You don't want to lose them. So you can't waste time, quote unquote, on anything that's perceived as pure play. So obviously having these categories just helps, as you can see, to make sure that nothing is really left behind. And then once you've kind of categorized your languages into those four groups, we can then begin to think about how we want to adjust our time accordingly. Now, we can't go into like, I'm not going to be talking about like you need to do 20 minutes Spanish and 5 minutes French. Like, it's going to be such a personal thing, but hopefully what I'm sharing with you today will help you be able to decide the more specific details of what that will look like for you. So you'll be able to decide, what does it mean to adjust your time accordingly? How much does that mean you're going to spend on the new focus language versus something that is pure play in your mind, right? So categorizing them that way first really, really helps to then begin to figure out what time you're going to spend on what language. Next, rotating the skills. So as well as thinking about the language categories and why we're learning each language, where it fits into the whole picture, we also want to be thinking more so than just time about rotating the skill that we're actually using. So it's very easy. Let's take maintain, right? If we take the idea of a maintenance language and we think, sorry, this is really wobbly. Let's see if I can even it out a little bit for you. There we go. If we take the idea of a maintain language and we say, okay, so with this, I am just going to maintain. I'm not going to do any production of this language. I'm not going to speak. I'm not going to write. I'm just going to listen. I'm just going to read. We're just going to take it in. It's really easy to fall into that trap, but it's not necessarily the best way to make sure that we're actually maintaining all of our skills in that language. So you do want to be thinking about rotating the skills that you're using as well as the language and as well as the time that you're thinking about and that you're kind of planning in for each. So when you're thinking about that plan and you're trying to balance multiple languages, you want to make sure that you're thinking, well, have I got enough speaking in language A, B, C, D? Have I got enough writing, reading, listening? Are you doing the things across the board that you want to be doing that's going to help you to get to the level that you want? And something as well that I do want to touch upon when it comes to skill, everything helps. Everything helps everything else. There's such an emphasis on speaking, which is understandable. But that doesn't mean that when you are doing some writing, it's a waste of time. It doesn't mean that if you are listening, you have to be reading at the same time. Like, everything will be crossing over and supporting everything else in all these different ways. So I just want you to think about that when you are thinking about this skill balance as well, because it's important to recognize that even if, you're listening in German, it doesn't mean that you're not improving your speaking until you do the speaking practice. Like, it's all kind of across the board. It all helps with each other. So just something to think about there. And it might be that you think, okay, so each day is a particular skill. So maybe on Mondays, you're only going to do speaking, but you're going to do it in every language. On Tuesday, that's your writing day, and you're only going to do writing, but you're doing it in every language, right? And you can do it that way. Or you might think, Monday is Spanish day and I'm going to tap into all my skills. And then Tuesday is German and I'm going to tap into all my skills in the different ways that fit the different sort of category that you've given that language, right? So you can see there's these different variations, right? There's really no one right way to balance multiple languages. It's all about doing it in a way that feels good for you. So rotating that skill just really helps you to, avoid burnout, avoid overwhelm, avoid getting bored and fed up and feeling like, oh, this is just tedious, because you get to decide how intense you're going to be working with this. You get to decide, what is going to feel good for you, the amount that's going to feel good. And you can kind of pair things up as well. So you might feel like maybe you want to do some Italian listening. So you listen to a podcast in Italian while you go for a walk. Then when you come back, you write about that in French, right? Like, you can still mix things in that way as well. So you've got some French writing and you've got some Italian listening, but you're using the same activity to put those two things together. Does that make sense? Like, that I think is really cool as well when we're able to do things like that. So all sorts of different ways that we can be thinking about rotating the skills, like making sure that we've got the right combo if we want some combo. And actually, that sort of leads into my final point on this, which is that when we're thinking about the sort of the combination of languages, sometimes it's really difficult to feel that it's like, oh, I'm gonna mix everything up. Right? That's the mode of like everything is gonna be confused. Like I don't want that. It's just gonna be a big mess in my head if I'm learning more than one language at once. Well, something that is really helpful and it's really quite simple, but in my experience, in myself and with clients, relatively effective, is having something the same for each of your languages. So that could mean something that is environmental. So it could be that there's like you always do Spanish when you are in the car on your commute to work, right? It could be that you then always do Japanese when you are sat in the living room early in the morning, right? These little things that just kind of tell yourself, oh, it's morning and I'm in the living room. This is Japanese time. Oh, it's we're driving. It's Spanish time. Do you know what I mean? Just those little triggers. And you can do this with environment, but you can also do this with things as well. So perhaps it's about like you have a certain tea bag that you like, and you make that tea when you're doing language A. And then you have a different tea that you make for when you're going to study language B. You see what I mean? They're like little anchors, little rituals that just help to kind of get you into that headspace and just remind yourself, this is where we're going now. I know what this looks like. And so those little habits link into what I wanted to say as the final point on this as well, is that everything then, like you're able to be more consistent, right? You're able to have these little habit loops, these little things that just connect and tell yourself, okay, that's what this is. This is the time for this language. This is the time for that language. And like I say, you get to decide. Maybe you think, I love the idea of listening to the language on my commute in the car, but I only do that twice a day. And I'm learning 3 languages. How am I going to do it? Okay, so let's figure out a way for this to work. Perhaps that means on Monday, your commute in the car language, you've got a podcast that you listen to on the way there and on the way back in Chinese. On Tuesday, you've got something that you listen to in Russian. And on Wednesday, you've got something that you listen to in, I don't know, Arabic, right? Like you've got these things sort of lined up ready to go. You've subscribed to all 3 and you know what you're doing and when you're listening to each one. So there we go. You can see that sort of feels quite integrated. It feels quite natural, but you've got the multiple languages and you can tell that like, your commute is going to be more or less the same time each day. That's going to be the same sort of time that you're giving to that language in terms of listening. So then you don't need to necessarily worry about listening in those languages for the rest of the week, at least passive listening, because you've got that quite keyed in. It's basically a routine at this point. So then that means within your more kind of typical like study time, that's when you're then thinking, okay, what skill do I want to focus on this day? What language do I want to focus on? How much time do I want to give to the focus language versus the play language? And as well, like just to come back to that point before we kind of wrap up on this, the idea of the focus and the play, the kind of categorization there, what that really helps with is also deciding like your priority. So then you are thinking, okay, I really want to do this play language. I just want to play. I just want to explore. I just want to see how it feels. But I know that I should spend more time with the focus new language. And so then if you've done this, you can realize, okay, that's my priority. And when I've done that time with the focus new language, the play feels like a reward, right? It then feels like a little treat after because you've done the priority. And then within each language, you might have priorities as well in terms of activity. And this helps as well with balance because you're not then feeling like, everything is all scattered. I'm sitting down, but what am I going to do today? You've actually got a bit of a plan of, okay, well, priority number 1 is to do a chapter in the textbook. Priority number 2 is to do the app sessions. Priority number 3 is, I don't know, learn extra vocab with whatever, I don't know, right? But you get the idea. Like you then set priorities for activities for each of those languages so that you always know what you're doing, when you're going to do it, once you've allocated that time to that language and to that skill set as well. So yeah, I hope this helps. And if this has sort of addressed your question, this has begun to answer things, like we go into this in a lot more detail in Language Life. There is a whole lesson on learning multiple languages. And you'll be able to then, speak more confidently across the board, to feel like you've got this process down of being able to balance it and not feel that you're stretched too thin, or that you are like trying to do too much with your different languages. Like Language Life is really all about, it's very much the missing piece in terms of when we think about language resources. We think about, okay, I've got a course book, I've got an app, I've got whatever, and then what do I do with them? Right? What do I do with these resources that I've acquired, like a shiny little magpie, shiny thing to the magpie? Like Language Life helps you use what you have already in the best way. And someone actually asked me the other day, like, what else will I need to buy to be able to do this? How much will I be spending on lessons or books or equipment or app subscriptions, whatever? Generally nothing. Like we really start with what you have, and you'll learn how to use what you have, how to use free resources, how to be able to like almost essentially make your own course, right? And piece the things together in the right way, so that you're not needing to go out and like spend hundreds of pounds more on lessons or on books and resources and things like that. Like you have everything you need. It's very much designed to be your last language learning investment. So everything else becomes optional, not obligatory, not this feeling of FOMO like constantly over your head. So yeah, you get 12 months. Most people are learning more than one language when we work together. So, you won't be alone in that sense, myself included. Like I'm very much quite typically a multiple language person. So, no problem there. And in terms of the language specificness, what's cool is that because the way you get your questions answered, you have unlimited questions. There's no language limit. It's not like, oh, you need to pick one language that you want to focus on, and that's what we're going to work on in our time together. No. I know that you might be learning multiple languages. So if that's the case, you can come as you are with that. You're sharing the whole picture when you share your monthly review with me, when you are asking your questions in the question bank. You don't have to pick one language. And so yeah, like I'm always going to know the first question in the monthly review is quite literally which languages have you been learning this month? So we're always on the same page, right? You can go into as much or as little detail as you want or you need. So yeah, I hope that's helpful. If you do have any more questions, you're more than welcome to reach out. You can email me, lindsay@doeslanguages.com. If you want to learn more, you're ready to go. It's lindsay.doeslanguages.ll. And I'll be here every day this week to answer your questions, to share more about Language Life, to share more about things that are like kind of tricky. Same time every day this week. I'll be back and I'll be live and I'll speak to you soon. All right. Thank you. Bye.